In this film, it features the lateral line, I'm the footmaster. And then as you see it, Uma Thurman is just instantly her feet like,
yeah, I know.
Tarantino, put that in a deleted scene or something, you lunatic.
Pulp Fiction is definitely one of the most hyped up films of all time. Now, does it deserve that hype in the year 2026? Yes. The answer is yes. So we're here to tell you why.
Yes. You can end the episode.
Ruin the whole intro.
But basically, turn off the episode, watch the film, think for yourself, you fucking child.
There you go. There's your intro, buddy. Is that how you want it?
Yeah.
Is that how you want it?
Yes, get into it. I hadn't seen this movie probably in 20 years, I want to say. It had been a very, very long time since I had revisited this film. So this was, it was exciting for me to watch this again. And I have to say, it really did hold up. Like, everything that we talked about in our last episode of Reservoir Dogs comes back here. The insanely pertinent conversations, the weaving of pop culture into very compelling dialogue, the integration of music that is cool. And also, I don't know how he does this in his films, but music somehow sounds better in Quentin Tarantino movies than when I listen to it.
I mean, he's the king of the needle drop in and putting it on the right scene and the atmosphere.
Well, it's also just the mix. It's like the mix of the music where it just really like pops in the scene and it takes over the scene in a great way, but it's just the fidelity and the sound it just sounds amazing. Like it draws attention to itself in a way that in a music video kind of way, I would say, that is really extraordinary. So if you like the crime and the crass elements and the witty dialogue, the repartee, the quirky characters, the criminal underworld, the nonlinear storytelling that Tarantino is known for, I think it's hard to top this. And I think this is a movie that he still hasn't really topped to this day. He peaked at this, and who knows if, he says he's got one more film in him. Will that be the one that dethrones Pulp Fiction? I doubt it.
By the way,
probably not. Probably not.
And similar to the Reservoir Dogs episode, I had almost the same experience. I hadn't watched it in ages because my brain went, well, I remember the film. Like, it's a really iconic film. And if I think really hard, I can't even think of the scenes. But I'll tell you the thing I was more shocked by rewatching it. Even though, obviously, Tarantino was famous for his dialogue. In my brain, obviously, you don't remember whole massive dialogue scenes. And you remember a line or something. In my brain, these films were way more fast-paced and action and crazy. Bro, these are super slow movies. This and Reservoir Dogs they let the dialogue just soak in these scenes. Like especially think about in this film, the first half of it is way slower than I remember. Like almost scenes with like Vincent Vega and stuff. They are talking for like 15 minutes in one conversation. Like, but it's mega because he obviously, the joke of Tarantino is, despite being famous for all this like pastiche of action and actually his best thing is just having two characters talk. Like, he is fucking unbelievable at that. And this film, I just like Reservoir Dogs, it is unbelievable how like compelling the conversations are and how it makes you get into these characters in a way maybe you wouldn't if that was like 3 lines before an action scene. But I was actually low-key shocked by it's actually dominated by talking. Even this film that has a lot of very iconic action scenes, those are almost like, it's like that famous thing of like, it's really slow and it's just punctuated by crazy bursts of action. But aside from that, it's really slow paced. Like, I also imagine to myself, like in the modern day, if you were a director who had a producer over your shoulder, I don't think like you make a film like this, mate. Like, this would be a massive gamble to make a film like this.
Yeah, I think with the dialogue as well, what's great about it is all the dialogue is in service of a set piece in this movie. So, like, even you have a scene,
tons of foreshadowing too. I didn't realize that. Exactly. You don't just talk for the sake of being cool. Yeah, everything's setting some up in it.
Yeah, that's what I love about it. Like the Eric Stoltz stuff. When they buy the heroin. And he's telling him, this is this, and this is this, and this is this. You're like, why's this motherfucker upselling me 3 different types of heroin? Yeah. All right, because she's going to fucking snort it, and then we're going to have to give her, by the way, incredibly prescient about the fentanyl.
And also think how many scenes that, I know what you mean. Like, I actually thought some of it was just like snappy dialogue. Bro, think about how many different ways they actually foreshadow all the stuff with like Marcellus Wallace and his wife, etc. There's a million fucking things that build into that.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I mean. It's like all of the dialogue is like leading you into these super cool little because it's designed to be vignettes,
Yes.
but they're vignettes that essentially are connected, and it's the dialogue that is the stanchion of these like wonderful fucking just amazing vignettes.
But it is
like,
weird, without sounding like, because it's a classic sort of thing a fucking film critic would say, but without sounding wanky, this actually, unironically, this and Reservoir Dogs have a vibe of like a fucking stage playmate.
yes,
It could just
totally.
be, except obviously you wouldn't have the action scene, but it could
Well,
just be it,
even
you know?
even the bit where so you have the whole scene again, getting ahead of ourselves, but when they give her the epinephrine to bring Uma Thurman back from the heroin overdose, the way that's shot, it's like so theatrical, big butt push. But it's the gangster's wife. If you fuck this up, you're gonna get blamed. Hover close up on the hand. It's all the way up here. Beads of sweat. Boom, boom, boom. Bang, into the chest. A moment, a pregnant pause. Sits forward. And then, of course, the other drug chick goes, that was fucking trippy. And then fade to black. That's theater. That's exactly what you would see in a play if anyone's ever attended one.
All right, count to 3. All right, ready? 1. 2. 3. If you're all right, then say something.
Something? That was fucking trippy.
Oh, man.
And yeah, it's like, and then it just, and now we're into the Butch fucking storyline. I mean, there's so much to talk about with this film. I mean, first of all, I adore the nonlinear structure because one of the things that came in the aftermath of Pulp Fiction was everybody wanted to tell stories out of order, out of sequence all of a sudden, because they saw what it could be. But what this did at the time was it essentially took storytelling, said, hey, we can just do it out of order, and it's still awesome and it's still cool. And I mean, shit, I remember, because this came out when I was a kid, and I snuck into the cinema to see this. But I remember distinctly there were retards, because there's no need to do this. But they were going, we should put it in order, put it in why? That makes it worse. So, yeah, but like a lot of people were like, just in case you couldn't handle it. I
do remember that was the thing. If everyone remembers famously the Christopher Nolan film Memento, everyone was like, you can get a version that's in order. It's like, the whole premise of the movie is for not to be in order. What are you talking about, you lunatic?
But there you go. Memento obviously comes out. Memento comes out about 10 years later.
And that's actually a rare example of a good use of that example. I know what you mean. Other people just did it for effect. The reason why it's done well in this film is it does exactly what the main feature of that style of storytelling is, which is you think you know something about the plot, which when you then realize a different jigsaw piece totally changes how you then look back on that scene, etc. Like, by the way, think about how cool the scene is. This wouldn't work if you told it linearly. How cool is the scene where he returns to get his watch and he just sees that like Mark 10 on the fucking side? That is like 10 times more dope if you already know who Vincent Vega is and all the rest and all that shit from the beginning. Like,
and
that
you know
wouldn't
why
be as cool
he's
if
there.
you just walked in. But
Well, it also it really serves the purpose of the film. It's not arbitrary, like you guys are saying. The purpose behind setting up the film the way it is and the idle conversation that happens is, first off, we talked about how Tarantino has this really interesting way of creating this underlying menace in routine scenes. And he does that by having Jules and Vincent having conversations about Vincent's living in Europe and, of course, the famous Royale with cheese line and everything like that while they're out going on a hit. And they're so blasé about the whole thing. But the core of the conversation is that Marcellus chucked somebody out the window for touching his wife's feet. And you have to have that as a setup because it's the rumors of the crime
Well,
kingpin. And
which obviously leads into the obvious joke, which is why is the ultimate sin, Quentin, to touch a woman's feet that you love?
yes.
Oh, my
But okay,
Please,
that's not the point.
You're killing me, Quentin. You're killing me.
The point is that Marcellus needs to become this shadow, this menacing figure.
No, I mean, they even show the back of his head initially. And
yeah,
stuff.
they show the back of his head in the
the
first
big
scene.
boss, don't they? Yeah.
You know, you have to set it up with Bruce Willis and the fact that he's going to throw the fight, because all of this is in service to building up Jules and Vincent as these hitmen and Marcellus as this overwhelmingly powerful crime kingpin. And it works out of sequence because that is the tone that is set.
Yes.
And because of the way that Marcellus is introduced by not even seeing his face, he seems larger than life, right? He seems like a myth, like an urban legend. He doesn't seem like a real person. And you know, even this very interesting story that these guys have heard through the grapevine is all building on the myth of Marcellus. So without these out of sequence events, you actually don't have the characters portrayed properly, right? If you had started from the beginning, which is technically the beginning is Bruce Willis is a child and his dad died in Nam and his dad's friend is telling him about the butt watch. I mean, it's a terrible start to this movie. It's terrible.
Is it? Disagree.
So you disagree that if the movie started like
he
that,
means if you told it in order, though.
Yeah. Oh, well,
that's what I'm saying. If the movie started with that scene, if you told it in order,
I think it would still. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's better this way, but I still think it would hold down. I still think it would be, you know, because what you have to understand. I mean, first of all, we are literally talking about a 2.5 hour, 2 hour, 40-minute movie, right? So you are locked in. And I think all of the characters in this movie have, I mean, first of all, you talk about arcs. Everyone in this movie has an incredible arc. Like they literally, Marcellus Wallace, Butch, fucking, you know, Samuel L. Jackson, Vincent Vega, you know, and it's like, it's just punctuated by these like really interesting side characters. Bizarrely, Tarantino, because he loves doing this, he puts himself in the film and he just plays a weird racist.
By the way, he's terrible in this movie. He's so bad. No.
He's the worst thing in every movie he's ever, like, whenever he puts himself in it.
Well, look, I didn't care that he put himself in.
Walked past
in Reservoir Dogs, he just died immediately, so it wasn't egregious. The problem with him in this movie is that this scene is really long, and he is terribly acting in it. And unfortunately, everyone else in this movie is a fantastic actor.
Dead N-word storage is rough.
Yeah, but that's the thing, Mark. First of all, I agree. Rough. He is easily the worst part of any of these films. But what makes that forgivable is Harvey Keitel's in the scene, so that saves it. I'm just watching Harvey Keitel, mate.
He does. Dorks.
Perfect. We couldn't have planned this better. You guys look like... What do they look like, Jimmy?
Dorks. They look like a couple of dorks.
Ha. You're closed, motherfucker.
You look like a couple of dogs. That's right, Jimmy. They look like dogs.
I'll give you a unique angle that no one's ever said about this film, which is, I'll tell you another thing about this film. When I remembered it, I remembered all the dark sequences and all the... By the way, it's another film like Reservoir Dogs. You'll watch it and be like, I should have a bingo card out. How many iconic lines are in one film? Like, how many lines that have been sampled in songs and fucking adverts?
This is the most quotable movie of the 90s.
But what's funny is, all I thought was it's a bunch of great snappy dialogue and then these crazy, like, hyper-violent scenes. Mate, one of the mad things about this film, and it's actually even present in Kill Bill 2, which is Tarantino is like low-key. You know, on the Lynch Shark, I had that whole rant about how he's actually like a big fan of Americana and he's not this like dark. Similar with Tarantino, he is famous for like the over-the-top like violence and all that shit, right? Because that was the political like ambience of when these films came out. But like, bro, Tarantino was like some crazy romantic. Like this film especially is just loaded to the brim with like romance arcs and like redemption of characters and like even the fucking like everything's just about the idea that like even even in these like terrible settings of horrible violence and criminality and the most evil people still just do good things. Like think about when Butch turns back and he saves Marcellus Wallace. Think about in Reservoir Dogs, the idea Harvey Keitel's character would still try and save the cop when he knows he's a cop. There's actually like this weird sort of like fucking like inside the cynic of Tarantino, there is some like romantic ideal there.
Yeah,
even the ending of this film, it's actually beautiful. Where he lets the stupid bank robbers go. They're robbing a restaurant in this case. That's like a romance to that too. They kind of get a happy ending out of nowhere. Even though, by the way, because of the non-linear plot, we already know Vincent Vega's going to get capped. He gets killed after this. But that's actually a mad like high note. The movie ends on. It ends on kind of like almost like a happy ending vibe, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think obviously because it's tapping into a lot of tropes, you know, like if you've watched a lot of noir movies, like obviously we have, you know, we've done a noir arc, the boxer that has to fix the fight but doesn't want to, the gangster that you know is gonna settle the scores no matter what, etc. There's all of this stuff is very typical of things you've seen in cinema before, but what Tarantino does here is like he dials it up to 11 and subverts it a little bit too. You know, I mean, I said this on the last episode. Like, where do you go from the ear scene in Reservoir Dogs? How do you make horrific torture comical?
Believe it or not, he topped it, bitch.
He did. Topped being the fucking operative
Imagine
word.
pausing this film, by the way, like halfway through and going, how would it, if I was to tell you later in the film, Marcellus Wallace and Butch actually sort of reunite and find a shared collective understanding? But it has to happen in one scene.
Take?
How would you do it?
What would it take?
I don't think anyone could write that scene. It goes, check this out, mate.
Well, and I've got to be honest. I remember, obviously, when this came out, I was younger. You don't really think about.
This is another reason
it's
I had
just
to.
funny.
I know,
you
but that is also a reason I think I didn't rewatch this movie for so long. Because that fucking scene when he opens the door and Marcellus Wallace is getting ragged up the ass by a bunch of a cop that is a hillbilly who secretly rapes people.
But also the guy,
that's burned into my brain, Richard. I've tried to delete that with so much alcohol, drugs.
The guy over here is just like rubbing his crotch.
And that's also even more sinister than I realised now. I know the idea he just wants to watch. I know the whole thing.
Man.
That's part of why I didn't rewatch. I thought this movie was
what even is the
gimp in the box?
Yeah, I know. Why is there a man in a box? By the way, gimp just means cripple. Why? What's his story? Mental, the whole thing. And you know, obviously being younger, it's like you laugh that off. This is horrifying.
It is. Man. It's really terrifying, isn't it?
Yeah. Like that ultimately is a man, even a crime boss, someone with all this power and influence. If you just end up in the wrong building at the wrong time, and you're vulnerable, you're just going to get raped.
Yes.
And in a way, I'm not saying Tarantino was a feminist, but I will say that's obviously a concern women carry.
Yeah, that's a famous thing, yes.
Yeah, typically men don't think about too much, right?
No, the joke is all these men spend all day on the internet telling women, you know, you're weaker than us and you can physical overpower. You're like, mate, I know that they're lying to you that they're not and that we're all equally strong, etc. But that's actually their nightmare, mate, is that you actually, essentially, one man can hold you down. You know, the joke with men, it's supposed to be if two men are there, they could rape you. It only takes one man. If you're a woman, mate, that's the nightmare. So not ever alone in a room. All he has to do is turn around, lock that door, and you're
that's the brilliance of the scene, though, because you have somebody with incredible,
the most macho character
power.
Possible, the most terrifying character gets this happen to him. Yes,
and you know, he's not like somebody who can't or won't enact great violent revenge against people either. So he's more terrifying because he's a criminal lord. And then on the other hand, you have Bruce Willis, who is a champion boxer, who should be able to defend himself. If you had to pick two people that you would think this would never happen to, especially together, it would be these two guys.
Well, but that's the thing, you know. It's another insane moment in the scene.
Also, imagine the tension of that eeny, meeny, miny, moe.
I know. The whole thing, bro. It's unbelievable because obviously they're just in there. Like, the ball gags are so insanely over the top. right? Just to have that. But obviously, again, you can't scream. You're just in there. It's a fetish thing. And just, and they're just counting it up, taking their time. Yeah, the spider card of a couple of flies. It's unfucking believable. Like, I mean, I remember howling with laughter when I was younger at this scene. Me and all my friends, we used to, reference, bring out the gimp, etc. I mean, obviously as well, Tarantino, when he made the soundtrack, that was one of the lines on the soundtrack before the song, which also...
Oh,
no, of course. What is happening?
One thing you're reminding me of actually is that's also a thing with what's funny is, sadly, like a lot of topics that are boomer angles, I have actually come to the realization people were right about things that seemed ridiculous at the time, but they were just like, it's just the way it was phrased. So I'll give you an example. There's two angles this film immediately reminds me of. One is the notion of like Tarantino sick if he's making these films. You know what? At the time I did that whole thing of like, hey, he's just an artist. You can do anything in the mind. Like, no, it's true. Like, I'm sorry. It's just like, I'll give you an example. I've told you, because we did Enter the Void, I love Gaspar Noé's films. He is a fucked up human being, though, man. That's inarguable. Like, he's a really disturbed, deeply unhinged individual. Like, this is what he would choose to obsess about and then put on screen forever and then go on, I'm going to do more films like that. Like, there's something about that. Like, mate, you could, at the end of the day, go and do Little House on the Prairie if you really were into that, but you're not. Your shit is this dark that you want to plumb the depths of.
Anyone who makes Irreversible is fucked up, bro.
But whoever sits and writes this scene is fucked up too, mate. Because again, what would make you think this is something cool to put on camera? Because as you're saying, actually, the most terrifying part about this scene, which seems impossible, is the implications that are not ever addressed. Of like, what is this and what was going on then? Who is that fucking guy? Like, thankfully, you don't get any answers. It's almost better that you don't.
Yeah, and I mean, like, obviously as well, it's kind of hard to quantify, but in terms of like, if there was anything that could get you out of Hawk with the fucking crime boss, it's saving him from that.
Yeah.
Because he could have been raped repeatedly.
No, it's like I was saying to you before we started. One of the craziest things that also shows me Tarantino's skill as a director, actually, is that even though they have the thing of like, are you okay or whatever, right? Aside from that, though, when the Butch character is about to leave, and he can every other movie and a person in real life just leaves there, man. Like, you know what? You deal with it yourself, man. You were going to kill me anyway.
See you later.
But the way he turns doesn't say anything. He just hears the sound and decides to go back in. And then the way he just frees him, etc. You don't. This is why it's great for movie telling. That doesn't need massive exposition of like, this is like you can just immediately intuitively sense that. That's also, by the way, that's another reason I say it's romantic film in a way. What a crazy, like, idealistic view of the world that you'd still go and save that guy because it's like on some honor among thieves shit. Like, well, he's not that bad that he should be raped. He was going to kill you, mate. Like, fucking. What a weird immediate calculus to make.
He was 100% going to kill you.
But as the viewer, you also are sort of like, I do sort of want him to save him in some fucked up way, don't you?
No. Because there are fates worse than death and being fucking raped.
As said, we'll find out in the thankfully not filmed scene after the end of this one.
Well, yes. Yeah, exactly.
When they get medieval on his ass. Nightmare Fuel term also.
Oh, I know. They actually did as well. Because it's like, keep in mind, he shoots him with a shotgun. And it's just...
Even that line, mate, actually, I wish I could delete from my brain that one, like, with some pliers and blow darts.
Yeah.
What are you
talking about? You hear me talking, hillbilly boy?
I'ma call a couple of hard pipe-hitting niggas to go to work on the homes here with a pair of pliers and a blowtorch. You hear me talking, hillbilly boy? I ain't through with you by damn sight. I'ma get medieval on your ass.
So unbelievable. So, like, I mean, by the way, totally acceptable. Peter Green is dead. We wouldn't do an arc for him. But another guy in a bunch of cool movies, Usual Suspect.
And always played these weird, sinister characters, but definitely good casting.
Shot himself. So, probably had to live with the fucking, like, just the reminiscence.
I mean, everyone's probably like, hey, weren't you that rapist from Pulp Fiction?
I know. For fuck's sake, I did all the movies.
Anyway, should we get some breadsticks or should we order now? That's just his life from now on.
I know. It's unbelievable. That song comes on the jukebox every time he's in a public place. But anyway, right.
Also, by the way, to tie to that one thing I just said as well about like the obsession. Bro, Tarantino, you just have something with the idea, not only as well of people's feet. That's not even that weird compared to the other shit. But you have some sort of predilection towards the idea of people being confined and tortured. Like, I don't know why that is just something your mind goes back to again and again, like a dog returning to its own vomit. I don't get it, mate.
Well,
I tell you what, it certainly makes these films have an edge to them. I'll give it that. I'll give you that much, mate. When I see fucking Mr. Blonde in Reservoir Dogs, like that. It's that scene we already referenced where he's explaining while taping your mouth up. He's gonna. I don't really want you to talk. I'm just gonna torture you. Like, what are you talking about? That's even more terrifying.
It excites me.
I know you're just here for the torture, not even
to torture a cop.
Not even for the info I might have. It's like, I'll just torture you. And Tarantino's just going. He's imagining that gif of like the fire on the pages you write, like, oh, it's great, everyone's gonna love this shit.
But this is how you know Tarantino is one of the guys that was brought up in the exploitation genre. I mean, torture was one of those things where it was like torture and rape revenge were the two big, genre staples essentially coming out of the 70s and stuff. So you would see a lot of horror movies that were torture oriented, adjacent to slashers, because obviously a slasher is like big, strange dude hunts down a bunch of kids and fucking puts machetes in their head when they're sleeping, when they least expect it, whatever. But there was a lot of torture movies too, where it was like, you would be rendered helpless. And the funny thing was, this like kind of had its like resurgence. Hostel was a big one with Eli Roth, obviously, kind of an alumni of Tarantino. And so all of that was there. But also the rape revenge movie. I mean, that's like Last House on the Left, fucking, I mean.
There's also a lot of that in Tarantino, true. I mean,
Spit on Your Grave. Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll get to that in Kill Bill. I mean, they are essentially staple, that was a genre in and of itself. And I remember, like, I mean, again, without being too graphic, I Spit on Your Grave is a fantastic example of clearly a movie that inspired Tarantino, because obviously when the girl who has been gang raped, sorry, this is going to be, we're going to have to bleep a ton of this out probably for YouTube, but when she eventually meets up with the guys again that did it, she gets one of them in the bath and she's like giving him a hand job, sort of in the bath, because obviously these are not just, it's not rape bad because
you
it's
have to
the 70s
as well, don't
yeah
you?
yeah
True,
exactly
true.
You have that
Yes.
a titillation aspect to it.
Yes.
So she's jerking him off in the bath, and then he's like, oh, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me, a good old fashioned in the bath. And then she cuts his prick off with a knife, and you see the blood like bubble up, because it's a cheap effect and she runs out and locks him in the bathroom, and you can just hear him going, I can't stop the bleeding. And it's like really sold over the top. For a fact, Tarantino saw these movies, and ultimately the way rape was sold in these movies is, this is the worst thing that can happen to another human being. It would justify all sorts of horrifying violence to the perpetrators. And here we are in Pulp Fiction. And also we're not addressing typically a woman being raped. We're addressing very masculine men being raped.
Yes.
And what happens in the aftermath. And it turns out, you get medieval on their ass.
But I know what you mean as well.
Medieval.
That type of film was of a certain era. Obviously, the Death Wish style, where it's like they don't kill you.
Correct.
You have to hold you down
Yeah,
so you witness it. I know what you mean. And there's been the odd time, like obviously, if anyone saw
Charles
that,
Bronson didn't have a relative in the 80s who didn't get raped.
no, that's like the staple of all his films.
Yeah.
That is actually something that's only done like a little research. Like I'm not thinking of like the Gerard Butler law-abiding citizen. It's the same thing. Because I know what you mean.
Correct.
The mechanism does work. If you were to show the person doing all these heinous actions without seeing what happened to them, you'd be like, this person's a monster. But in a weird way, as like a film person playing out the dynamic, when you've seen that, when you've essentially experienced it like you're them, the traumatic thing that they go through, part of you is like, since it's a film, fuck it, just unleash on these motherfuckers.
Go wild. Go wild, go to town, exactly. And so Pulp Fiction's tapping into that, even though we don't see it happen to the guys who did it. We only see the act. But that's another part of Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction is this wonderful homage to genre fiction. I mean, let's rewind. Let's go to the start of the movie, the hitman. You see, because what it does is it takes staples of genre. We've all seen the movie with the hitman, right? We've all seen the movie where the hitmen go on a hit, and maybe you don't even know the hitman, and maybe they're going to kill someone, and maybe that's going to really surprise you. But these hitmen talk like you. These hitmen talk about bullshit. Yep. They talk about video games and fast food and movies and
rumors.
Holidays. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Antoine Rocky Horror, Antoine Ruggamora. You know, brother's got a weight problem. What are you going to do? He's Samoan. You know, and you know, they talk like you. So it's very arresting when they then turn out to be, you know, monsters, like horrible people.
Yep.
I mean, I still maintain, first time I saw this film, when they shot that guy, when Samuel L. Jackson shoots that guy over here, not even the guy he's talking to, and just says, "Oh, I'm sorry, did I break your concentration?"
We got into this thing with the best intentions, really. I never...
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration? I didn't mean to do that. Please, continue.
That is the tone for the rest of the movie. Like, anything can happen from that point. He shot a guy in the fucking head. He's murdered a guy who wasn't even doing shit.
Also, as you're saying, it's like the idea that because these guys aren't doing one hit, it's just their life is to go from job to job to job to do. Like, they're bored. They're just doing something like reading Bible verses and having lectures. And the people being lectured are just like, what do I have to say? Just get out of this. I don't give a shit about any of this.
Yeah, exactly. And even Samuel L. Jackson, Jules, says later that he doesn't even know what this verse means.
Think about that. Think about the context that later on he's like, I think I've changed my mind on my trip. Why did you tell that guy before you shot him all? Fucking lunatic.
Well, that's because he just memorized it because it sounds cool. It has nothing to do with the actual context
we're talking
or him
about
at all.
Is also a perfect example of what I said at the beginning. Mate, if I wasn't completely in and loving the work you're doing, I would go mental if you had a 5-minute scene about what this burger tastes like. But somehow it's compelling. Somehow that is like world building in a way that like becomes interesting, even though like it's really slow. That scene is like an ASMR scene, mate. It's really slow how he's going on and on about this burger. It's nuts in it. But it does like build up who the character is in a way that's interesting.
Yeah, it's really funny as well because obviously this movie, like Reservoir Dogs before it has a ton of homage and references to other movies. Where I think Kill Bill fails and where I think Pulp Fiction succeeds is that these are less obvious in Pulp Fiction. But the whole thing about the Ezekiel 25:17, that's like very similar to there's a Sonny Chiba movie called The Bodyguard, where he has a very similar monologue.
Okay.
Right. So it's like, you know, if you know these things, you pick up on that. But,
so the joke here is early Tarantino is like he actually listened to that advice where you can copy my homework, but just change enough to make it. The problem is later on Kill Bill, he's just straight copying your homework and putting his name on the top.
Exactly.
Tarantino presents. That's actually sort of it, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, I didn't realize how much of the piss Kill Bill was taking.
I know.
Until this rewatch.
Because we rewatched both movies before we did this episode. The problem is, unfortunately, the contrast has killed Kill Bill before we get to it. Without spoiling it, when we get there, I have a similar thought. My first thought at the end of watching the film was, fuck, this is why he doesn't make films like Pulp Fiction anymore, because this was the one where he tried to make like another Pulp Fiction. But unfortunately, he's different and he didn't pull it off. Like this one, like I said to you, this one is like when a band gets to the point where they're not even like I always say this about the Rolling Stones. Mate, the Rolling Stones to me is a band from the 1970s and the 60s. Like it's not the old guy doing the same version of Satisfaction now in like the 2020s. And like that's tired. Like that's like you just became a tribute band to yourself. And that's what he did in Kill Bill mix. I agree. Everything that succeeds in Pulp Fiction fails in Kill Bill. Like a lot of that stuff does just come off like, oh, actually, mate, you just copied that entire scene from a Jack. But why though? But why have you done that? Like, you know, whereas in I agree, everything serves a purpose in Pulp Fiction. It's mega.
Yeah. So I mean, like, just going through it, it's kind of like, I mean, like, the parts of Pulp Fiction are really, I mean, first of all, obviously it launched a bunch of people's careers, and in some cases relaunched. I would go so far as to say, obviously, Travolta doesn't have a career without this movie. I mean, quite
Yep.
famously, Tarantino lobbied for him to be in this film. What's mad as well is, if you look at, like, you know how, like, most people get millions for being, like, a low movie fee is like $1 million. You know, you get $1 million. Travolta apparently took $140,000 to be in this movie, which is crazy. But I mean, that's how, like, washed he was at this point. And Tarantino had to pretty much use all of the cultural cachet he'd built up with, you know, fucking Reservoir Dogs and everything to essentially, and his scripts as well. You know, let's not forget, by this point, True Romance was out there, and you know, he was
Natural Born Killers.
Natural Born Killers was coming. That was down the pipe with Oliver Stone. So I mean, he was he was a very well regarded film guy, and so Pulp Fiction was essentially, right, I'm pushing all my chips in the middle, and I gotta have the things I want, and obviously, none more so than bringing Travolta out of whatever limbo he was in. And it's sort of crazy because, like, if you look at the other actors that were in line for that part, it's sort of, you know, it could have been a very different movie. I don't even know if it would have been a worse movie, because I don't think Travolta's the best thing in the film. Like, put it this way: is the movie worse if it's Michael Madsen?
It'd probably still be pretty good.
Yeah, right. Is it worse if it's Daniel Day-Lewis?
By the way, one thing we're getting at here about this film as well, it's why you're right, that's a bunch of vignettes. It's not a film with a protagonist. It just isn't. It's not even about the concept of one story, is it? Like, that's one of the best
the closest thing you have to a protagonist, I guess, is Samuel L. Jackson. But I mean, he could equally be Bruce Willis,
and
right?
also, here's one thing as well that I find weird, right, is there's something about this film where simultaneously it is a serious film, and a lot of it isn't directly played for laughs, but it can simultaneously be funny. Like, a lot of the best lines are really good movie lines, but they're also, in isolation, hilarious. Like, how about that one where Bruce Willis is being told to throw the fight, and then he goes, "Are you my N-word?" And he goes, "Certainly appears so."
You my nigga?
Certainly appears so.
Like, that's just hilarious dialogue. Like, that's just really snappy, funny, but it's also just a great line in the film, isn't it? Like,
yeah. I mean, and there's tons of that, and it's like you say, it's the juxtaposition of, like, there's a lot of serendipity in the film. Like, for instance, you know, Jules was meant to originally have an afro. He ended up with the Jerry curl by accident because of the assistant going out and buying it. But the Jerry curl had come back in the late 80s, early 90s because of NWA and Eazy-E. So suddenly it was vogue, but also it tapped into that kind of idea where it was like, yeah, white guys are saying the M-word. We're over it. You know, like, we're saying the M-word because it's become ubiquitous in culture. It's not a racial epithet anymore. It's a term of endearment, but it's also like a reference to street culture. And so obviously in this movie, the N-word is fucking everywhere. Tarantino, by the way, he wore his heart on his sleeve with Jackie Brown and literally said, like, I might be white, but I fucking love blaxploitation.
I was even thinking about this.
If anyone
Richard,
gets the pass,
you'll know the reference because it's one of the famous things that Chud's always complain about, but they're actually right on this one, which is one of the stupidest things about modern things. You think about this, Monty, modern political thinking when you're doing like game reviews or something, is they genuinely are so fucked in the head that it's the symbol, not the meaning of the symbol, that is the problem. Hence why the N-word discussion has become. And the worst way this manifests is, like, I'll give you the example because this actually happened, by the way. They have written comic books in the modern day, Monty, where they'll take characters that are just murderous characters, like the Red Skull or Doctor Doom, and for real, they'll have panels where they're like, "Look, I may be a murdering tyrant who killed, but I wouldn't say something racist." And it's like that is such an absurd premise, even in fiction. You've ruined the premise because
the
I
actual
agree.
Nazi, by the way,
In this actual film, you see this, right? Which is that if people were really bad criminal people who weren't being filmed and weren't going to be judged by society, they would say horrendous things like this. That is actually way more authentic, even if this isn't literally what you'd say, because it's a movie dialogue. Like, the idea that they would still be talking in like a really politically correct way is really jarring actually in modern films. Like, I think I agree with you. There's something like super authentic about how crazy out there some of the dialogue is in these films, mate.
Yeah, but also as well, the what I kind of like about it is obviously Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta. White.
By the way, has Samuel L. Jackson ever escaped the fucking shadow of this film? I feel like this one
Probably
part
not.
has actually haunted him because to some degree, even when he's playing Nick Cage, people want him to do these lines and do the same thing. Even though, by the way, he's a fabulous actor. We've seen him in plenty of other films where he did different roles, but this type of role, people want this from Samuel L. Jackson, it feels.
I don't know if this is accurate, but the first part I remember him from was a Spike Lee movie called Jungle Fever, I want to say.
Okay.
And he basically he plays a crackhead in that. And it was literally, he was a former crack addict. And so he knew, even though he was clean at that point, he knew how to, like, you know, same thing Bubbles did. The actor who played Bubbles for The Wire didn't sleep for a while, didn't shower, you know, walked around, stepped on some vials, got that fucking authentic grimy look and went and did it. And ultimately, I think he probably owes Spike Lee a debt in that sense. You know, he did a bunch of good movies before this, but this is the movie that obviously propels him into being, if I need an actor to say like iconic one-liners, I mean, it all gets distilled down to snakes on a plane in the end.
Sure.
But, you know, like, but
I mean, the joke of that is the whole film's just for that one line, isn't it? Like, there's motherfucking snakes on
exactly. I mean, people forget that was literally a Reddit script. That was a joke, and it got made into a movie. But ultimately, like Samuel L. Jackson reaches this status where you go, I just want him to say the lines because he says the lines in this. Check out the brains on bread. Now listen to me, Ringo. I'm trying real hard to be the shepherd. I mean,
but I'm trying, Ringo. I'm trying real hard to be the shepherd.
like, bro, like, talk about, like, if you gave me that script, what part would I want to play? There's no other part I would want to play. I would want to be Jules, of course. He gets all of the lines. And this is what I mean about, like, yeah, it relaunched Travolta's career. But, I mean,
I do think we should talk about that.
Jackson. Yeah.
Like, people now who were not aware of what was going on with John Travolta, because he fell off real hard.
It was bad, man. It was bad for sure.
And this is coming off of him being extraordinarily famous early on in his career with Grease and Saturday Night Fever, which also,
remember, you guys
talk
did real
about
movies. He wasn't just some dancing fucking retard, which is like how he gets framed a lot of the time.
Yeah.
People don't realize that, like, you know, fucking Saturday Night fucking whatever the fuck and all the rest of it. They were good films, you know, and like he was good in
he did all Blowout and shit.
Yeah,
Blowout films.
Yeah, he did a ton of great stuff.
You know, I think it's interesting because you guys say John Travolta. It could have been somebody besides John Travolta. I think John Travolta's dancing ability actually is a core part of Vincent Vega in this film, and also, I think
Michael Madsen wouldn't have been as good in that sense. So we'll give you that.
He's really good at that scene, man. And the thing about it too is that the way Tarantino makes references and he makes pastiche, and we talked about how he is a DJ who's sampling all these different films and he is making audio visual collages, basically, is that it's actually meta important for it to be John Travolta, because you cannot watch that scene and not think about Grease and Saturday Night Fever. You can't.
Yeah.
Right. And that's part of the point.
Yes. I mean, let's also be clear, like where he was before this movie, he was doing, and I remember seeing these in the cinema, which traumatizing experiences. My stepdad took me to see the first one. Look Who's Talking.
Don't go watch these films. They're pure cancer. They're absolute ass.
Right? Which is literally a baby with a
it's another pitch that doesn't
monologue.
sound that bad, but then you're making whole movies out of this shit. This should be one scene, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And
but also to the point of John Travolta too, it's like if he wasn't in Grease, then the diner wouldn't have been a 50s themed diner. You know what I mean? The whole point is John Travolta is in the 1950s again, except Grease is a feel-good musical, and Pulp Fiction is subverting all of that. Right? It's not set in the 50s, it's set in the 90s, but it's a dark, unique twist on that character. But by putting him in that environment, you get that effect. Yeah. Right? Which this is what I think is great about Tarantino, is that he does think about the associations that the audience will make, and he plays on those in his movies.
Yeah.
So I think Travolta is actually incredibly important in this role.
Yeah, and like you say, I do think it could have been other actors, but you definitely gain a lot from having Travolta in this film. I mean, like,
and his performance is also very good.
Yeah,
so
correct.
It's not like he's just there to be the Grease guy.
Yeah, no.
It's just it's a bonus. It's a bonus.
I mean, like, obviously we've talked about it on previous episodes. You know, the whole delivery of I don't know, I didn't go to Burger King, you know, which really sets the tone. That, you know, like what's great about his character in this is he really is a fucking moron. You know, he's like, he really is a moron.
True.
That is aspiring to be better than a moron. You know, he's like reading books, but he only reads a book when he takes a shit. You know, like that is already, that tells you all you need to know about a person.
Also, he left his gun outside when he knows the guy is on a stakeout in a guy's apartment. Why would you ever leave your gun? Your gun could just be put on the floor in the bathroom, by the way. Like,
like just an utter idiot. And you know, a man of like no culture whatsoever, but also as well, like kind of cool in and of him in his own way. You know, like I said, the scene where he's high on heroin and he's just driving, bang, 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 and he's fucking wrecked. And like, by the way, everyone who's ever had a buzz and you just fucking driving and cruising, it doesn't have to be a heroin buzz, but you know, they are good.
Well, I think that scene, and then when he's in the diner still high on heroin, and the way Tarantino uses the camera to like float behind him. Well, Tarantino does an amazing job of simulating the kind of bouncy ecstasy that Travolta's character is in, because you literally it's a really weird shot while you're following him and Uma Thurman through, but it's just kind of like happily floating around as they walk through the 50s diner.
Imagine how fucking mental it would be, right? And obviously things like this do happen to you when you're high, things that make you feel like you might be more fucked up than you are, but you're not. Like, you know, but like when she's like, I just wait downstairs, and he's like, you know, like she's talking on a fucking tannoy, you know, PA system in the house, and he's like, yep, and he's like trying to talk back. I love all of that. I love all of that stuff.
Vincent, I'm on the intercom.
Where is the intercom?
It's on the wall by the two African fellows. To your right. Warm. Warmer. Disco.
But what that does, by the way, that level of initial detachment sets up incredible chemistry. It's got to be said that you probably, like a lot of people, you didn't know who Uma Thurman was before Pulp Fiction, right? Like, she was just around. But then as the boss's wife, this sort of unobtainable woman that's kept off screen deliberately for as long a period of time. And she comes down, and I will say this, she's not like some classic, curls, blonde. It's the opposite. Sharp, short, black, raven hair, wearing this like almost like smart casual kind of clothing.
I mean, Uma Thurman just looks weird too. There's no other way. She's a weird looking person.
But I mean, gorgeous in this. I mean, and I know
I can see why people might be into it.
No,
not my cup of tea.
Put it this way. I think might not be what you might call classically beautiful.
Yeah, she's odd looking.
In this movie, the way she's set up, introduced, taking out the dancing scene, barefoot, of course, Quentin, we see you. But like she is, you understand the vibe, and you understand why Travolta's character might be into it, and you understand the risks involved. And then obviously the only thing that interrupts that is the drug overdose. And it's so perfect in how it nails this, when he's right again, without getting too detailed, been here, right? Done that, had that conversation in the mirror, your friend's woman. And it's just all of a sudden, it's just come out of left field. You know each other. You're close, you're laughing. He's not around. You're around. She's been drinking. They've been together 10 years. She's looking for a bit of strange. You're looking for a bit of strange. But you're not going to do it because he's your bro. But when the dick is hard, the mind is soft. And so you got to talk to yourself in that mirror, and you got to say, right, we're going to have one more drink, Rich, and then we're going home. Nailed that. Definitely something a lot of people, like I identified with that immediately, right? Like a lot of people will identify with that in the film. Like, yeah, we've all been there. And it's like, it's such a relatable thing that happens in our everyday lives. It just, in this instance, it happens to be a hitman than the boss's wife. And the boss is like literally said, "You're gonna look out for her tonight." Oh, and she's mistook my heroin for cocaine, and now she's gonna die. And I was about to tap her ass prior to that. So how much worse can this get? So I mean, it's there's so much to just engage with just in that storyline. And remember, that is not even a third of the movie. It's like a fifth. A fifth of the film is this incredible chemistry between Uma Thurman and John Travolta.
Is that what you call an uncomfortable silence?
I don't know what you call that. Drinks, music.
I'm gonna take a piss.
That's a little bit more information than I needed, Vince, but go right ahead.
By the way, that's even the thing about this film that I do think is almost revolutionary is it's one of the only films I can ever think of that managed it all. It was simultaneously like box office success, critical success, fans like it, but also, like I say, it doesn't have a traditional movie narrative or linear story or protagonist or any of the normal things you're supposed to have to grab on. It's super slow moving. There's action, but it's not like you hit an action beat every rhythm. Like it's actually, it violates every rule basically, but it's just a fucking sick film, though, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
And it is really funny. I mean, when Vincent Vega accidentally shoots the guy in the backseat of the car, it's just super funny.
That is fucking crazy to this day. Because also as well, the original line was, I shot Marvin. But John Travolta said, I think it'd be funnier if I said, I shot Marvin in the face. And it is. It is objectively funnier.
Well, you gotta have an opinion. I mean, do you think that God came down from heaven and stopped? Oh,
What the fuck's happening? Oh,
man.
Shit, man.
Oh, man, I shot Marvin in the face.
Why the fuck did you do that?
Well, I didn't mean to do it. It was an accident.
After years of overpaying for wireless, I finally got tired of it and switched over to Mint Mobile. The big carriers are hitting you with crazy fees, and honestly, I have saved literally thousands of dollars a year by switching over to Mint Mobile. Not only that, but all plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. I have noticed no difference in terms of my coverage from switching over, and because I am frequently traveling internationally, it's also really easy to use Mint Mobile for that. All you have to do is get the international plans inside the app itself. And if you feel stuck with your current wireless carrier, you should know that it's so incredibly easy just to switch over. Especially most phones just use eSIM, so all you have to do is bring your phone with you over to Mint Mobile and download the app, and you can switch your phone number over, keep your old phone number, and just get it onto Mint Mobile in probably, 10 minutes. So you can stop overpaying for wireless right now, which is, for me, has been a huge saver. You can get premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. And I think you'll find that there's probably very little difference for you. So basically, ditch overpriced wireless and get 3 months of premium wireless service from Mint Mobile for just $15 a month. Upfront, basically, if you like your money, Mint Mobile is for you. Shop plans at mintmobile.com/4play. That's FOURPLAY. That's mintmobile.com/4play. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, 5 gigabyte plan required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. And thank you very much to Mint Mobile for sponsoring 4Play, which keeps this show rolling.
But it's like, again, you have to understand, the first time you watch this movie, what a fucking roller coaster you are on.
Well, you'll never know where anything's going.
No.
It actually does have that Game of Thrones thing. Any character could die or just be fucking something weird could happen to him 1 second later.
Keep in mind, by that point, they've killed 3 dudes, but they've killed 2 dudes initially. A guy runs out of the bathroom, sprays them with a gun, misses them, completely whiffs, right? Causing a religious epiphany of one of the characters and a shrug and I'm a take a shit kind of indifference.
But also iconic, even though you might forget it. That scene where he runs out.
Yeah, I know.
Misses everything completely.
He's like full screaming, and they're all.
I just love both of them just looking.
Yeah, they just look around, and then they return fire. The pair of them.
Die, you motherfucker!
And then it's like they're in the car, and he goes, "What do you think, Marvin?" He just immediately, it's like, why has he even got the gun in his hand? It's so mental. Yeah, because he's a fucking moron. What do you think, Marvin? Do you think God came down and stopped the bullets? Blow! There's blood everywhere in the car, and like Samuel Jackson, motherfucker! And like he doesn't know what's going on, and John Travolta's wiping blood out of his eyes, and he goes, "Oh, I shot Marvin in the face." It's unbelievable. Like I couldn't.
It also just sets up the
it,
chemistry later when they're cleaning the car, and Samuel L. Jackson's like, "Why am I cleaning up all the brain?
Why
bits
am
off
I
the
on
floor?
brain
You do
detail? Why am I on brain detail?" Yeah. And like, yeah,
it's very funny.
Yeah, all of it's funny. As said, Tarantino himself is the worst part of that scene. But then Harvey Keitel gets to come out and just be this iconic motherfucker as well. Just like a tiny little role? What, like 3 minutes?
By the way, all these
time?
lines, another thing, I just checked it now while we were talking. Another thing is, in my brain, the main character of this movie was Bruce Willis. But if you rewatch it, like the first half of the films, all the Vincent Vega shit with John Travolta and Uma Thurman, then there's like the middle portions, like the Bruce Willis part. But even that's not as long as you think. And then the last almost like quarter to a third of the film's all back into the fucking Samuel L. Jackson shit. Like, actually, Bruce Willis, even though, by the way, he's easily the biggest name in this film, at the time he was still a massive figure. Like, he's not even given that massive a role himself. Like, he has a big role, but it's not like the movie's about him, is it?
Yeah. Oh, not at all. I mean, again, what's interesting just about that entire story arc with Bruce Willis, again, that could have been Mickey Rourke. They wanted, Bruce Willis, I think, got the part because he wanted to be one of the hitmen originally.
Okay.
I don't know which one. I think maybe Jules, bizarrely. I don't think Jules was originally a black character. And then Tarantino was like, no, well, I kind of it's not a big deal. You don't have to do it, but we had you in mind for the boxer. And then he just kind of wanted to be in the movie because Tarantino was the hip shit right then. In that moment in time, Miramax were popping off. Keep in mind, as we alluded to, Miramax was the place you went to if you were making cool underground movies, because it wasn't just Tarantino. You had Kevin Smith there, a bunch of other
mate, their 90s run is epic. It's really legit. Yeah.
It's a shame, obviously, Harvey turned out not Keitel, but Weinstein.
Harvey Weinstein, who also, by the way, apparently sexually assaulted Uma Thurman in 1994.
Yes, she did say that. I mean, obviously, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, he was just obviously any actress that was involved in any movie. He seemed to be like, right, well, we're just gonna. It's why as well, without getting too deep into the weeds on it. When people say like, "Oh wow, we just didn't," it's ruined the film. We just didn't know that Harvey Keitel. Like, guys, come on, it's every single actress in every single movie. Like, someone must have.
Well, but they were turning a blind eye. Clearly, it was almost things like, I see nothing. It's just that shit in it. Yeah, of course.
But regardless, the Miramax the Miramax run in the 90s is insane. I urge everyone, because it wasn't just the movies they made, like or rather distributed, like The Crow, all of Kevin Smith's movies, they from Dusk Till Dawn, all of Tarantino's movies, but also they had the distribution rights to movies that had been made prior to it, which included Krzysztof Kieslowski's Droit Couleur trilogy. They were putting out real films.
Yeah, that's one of the most famous set of art house films ever from Europe.
Yeah, they were putting out real movies, repackaging them for an audience that all of a sudden wanted to smoke weed and watch, classic movies in the 90s and what have you. So, I mean, Miramax did a ton of good stuff, but ultimately, obviously Pulp Fiction was for a long time the jewel in the crown.
And by the way, they obviously actually, you can see why they have a kinship with Tarantino, because as you're saying, they themselves did things like take Princess Mononoke or whatever and do the distribution.
Yeah.
They did that thing of take from other cultures the cool thing and try and show it to Americans, which is obviously its whole ethos, isn't it?
Yeah, which exactly right. I mean, what I think where Pulp Fiction succeeds, whereas other movies might not, is Pulp Fiction was at least borrowing from Americana. Pulp Fiction takes classic American movies and then recontextualizes them for a modern audience. I think Kill Bill, they borrows from stuff that Tarantino himself probably only understands on a superficial level, and it really shows. I think that's probably the movie. When we were doing this arc, I was like, I'm kind of glad we're not doing Django Unchained. But Kill Bill is worse than Django Unchained.
No, what's sad is, we'll get to it on the episode,
Yeah.
but I actually had a soft spot for Kill Bill. I never thought it was great, but I liked some of the, I like the Superman scene at the end, etc. I remember thinking there's some cool shit in there, though. It sadly did not hold up.
No, it did not. A spoiler, yeah. And look, Pulp Fiction definitely does. I mean, every part in this movie, the bit parts are actually incredible. The Christopher Walken speech with the watch up the ass.
By the way, even though at the beginning of the episode,
time,
Monty, we were making it like it's silly. I'll tell you what, though, it does make the scene where Bruce Willis is way more powerful. Way more powerful.
It's a great scene. I'm just saying the movie is worse if the movie starts chronologically with that
and
scene.
let's
That was
be
my
real,
point.
Monty. Part of the reason that scene is just weird is because it's Walken doing the whole like, yes, or something like so. It's like, I don't need him Walken on top of that, like whatever.
Yeah, I mean, look.
And by the way, am I the only one? Like they clearly put Christopher Walken in that role because of Deer Hunter, surely. Like that is surely what we're trying to like connect to in our brain,
But also after Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead, like you can never. Christopher Walken's acting can never be over the top ever again. And also no line he utters can ever feel ridiculous compared to...
By the way, that's something we didn't even mention. Is like, how shameless are Christopher Walken and Buscemi? Like, you're not even the knockoff. You were in the Tarantino movies and you're doing the knockoff. Like, how shameless are you, man? Come on.
Also, Miramax film, by the way, Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead.
Also, by the way, Steve Buscemi is in this film, but just for like 5 seconds, just serving a drink.
Uncredited.
I know. Because I actually missed that, and I'm rewatching. Like, why is he just in this for one fucking mild sequence?
Don't get me started on the number of retards that tried to create a fucking
Tarantino
universe.
No.
But Mr. Pink, he went undercover and became
that's even worse. They actually want it all to be one like universe, not even a multiverse. It's like all the same thing.
No, yeah.
And then he turns into Mr. Shush because it was a Tarantino clone, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it was all they're putting all together. Buckwheat for Zed.
I do think it's funny though that Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead, which you've also talked about on this show, comes out like a year after this, and it's like such a ridiculous Tarantino clone, also made by Miramax, also containing many of these
Things
actors.
to Do in Denver When You're Dead is like the meme of like, can we have hamburgers? We've got hamburgers at home at McDonald's. It's like that, isn't it? It's like the worst version of that.
We got Pulp Fiction at home.
I know. And you're like, no, this sucks. I want the real Pulp Fiction. Like, shut up with your Pulp Fiction.
1 minute you're saving the rainforests, the next you're chugging cars.
Also, if anything, doesn't this movie, even though, by the way, I'm with you, Richard, I can enjoy it on like it's a silly film level and just enjoy it's not, the dialogue is definitely not as cool in Things to Do with Denver When You're Dead. Like,
definitely not.
No, because let's be real. I mean, the joke is we're almost implying even Tarantino can't do it anymore. Nobody can do this level of like super effective dialogue writing. Like, it's actually genuinely staggering how good it is and how like well written it all is, how it all hangs together. There's so little like fat on it, as it were. Like it's actually unbelievable how good the dialogue is. It's nuts.
Here's the thing as well, though. It's kind of like sometimes I wonder, is it good? Because it is. I think it is. But is it? Because it's like there was just nothing like this. Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction were so far like ahead in terms of referencing pop culture, having like the type of conversation you have with your friend, but having them with fantastical characters, talking about albums and, all this stuff, that it's like, is it actually that good? Like it is, it feels like it is, but I don't know, like just some of the stuff that gets said is so ridiculous. Like if he goes to Indochina, I want an N-word hiding in a pool of rice.
That is a
ready
to
line, pop a cap in his ass.
That is a great line,
I think it's great. No, I love it. I think it's so funny.
No, I agree.
Take him to the kennel, stick the dogs on his ass. We'll find out for goddamn sure what he knows and what he don't.
What's your search? How do you want it done?
I'm prepared to scour the earth for that motherfucker. If Butch goes to Indochina, I want a nigga hiding in a bowl of rice ready to pop a cap in his ass.
I think that's great, but then is it? That you always have to second guess yourself. You always have to second guess yourself.
I will not.
The thing is, though, I don't imagine Tarantino ever second guessed himself. No, he wrote that line and just went, nailed it again. Anyway, let me get another foot massage. I'm the foot master.
I'm the fucking
I actually thought that Richard, when I referenced
unreal.
that in a past episode, I thought that was exaggerated. In this film, it features the lateral line, I'm the foot master, and then as you say, Uma Thurman is just instantly her feet like
I know.
Tarantino, put that in a deleted scene or something, you fucking lunatic.
Also, Uma Thurman, famously large feet, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
She's 6 feet tall, and she has enormous feet.
And then all you need to know about is, that's his muse. Is it fucking hell, bro?
And he said it was Salma Hayek.
I know. What are we doing?
There was other stuff going on.
We were watching this movie, and my wife said, "Did you know that Uma Thurman wears a size 11 shoe?" I said, "I did not."
Tarantino did.
Of course.
By the way, That's the same size. A women's 11 is the same size as my feet.
I mean, look, we've talked about this for years. I mean, we're not even covering it in the arc, but I remember trying to explain to people, right, like just ignore the foot fetish stuff about Tarantino. And they used to say, Richard, how bad can it be? And then it was like, once upon a time in Hollywood. And it's like literally.
No, it's not in it.
The opening scene.
Yep.
You're like, oh my God. We're still doing this, bro. We're still doing this. We were still indeed doing this. I mean, even, you know, when they're trying to have, what's a face? The one who got murked. Sorry, this is really insensitive. The one who got
Sharon
killed.
Tate or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, Sharon Tate. There you go. Sorry to the Sharon Tate. The one who got
the
murked.
pregnant.
I figured it out.
Yeah, I know.
I got to it. Yeah.
We'll edit that out, maybe. I don't know. But
Listen,
anyway,
that'd be great on Jeopardy. She was the one who got murked. Who is Sharon Tate? You win, Thorin. $500 on the
I'm so sorry. That's so horrible. But anyway,
that's
when it's her feet, you're like, fucking hell. Now you're fantasizing about real people's feet. That's wild, bro. That's wild.
And get murdered women's feet.
Yeah, she's
like,
a dead.
Look at her feet, though.
I know.
I can see why he did it almost. Oh, I mean,
no, I'm not the Zodiac.
I'll tell you what. To make it all right, I'll have them kill him instead.
Yeah, Brad Pitt
like,
smoked this fucking formaldehyde joint and set a dog on them. Now it's all okay. Now he's wild, man. He's wild for that. He's wild for that with the feet stuff. And it was a bit of a joke at the start, but it's beyond a joke.
But it's like him acting in the
joke.
movie. It sort of almost contrasts how good he is, though, that we could just forget
I know.
it.
I
can let it go,
but
bizarrely. I know I shouldn't. Part of me
We
should be like, you're outrageous, but I can just go, you know what? Much like you with your producer, Tarantino, I'm just going to say, I see nothing, and this seems like a perfectly fine film to me. Let's keep going. Let's keep working together.
Yeah, let's just keep this going. Yeah, exactly. What's your favorite part of this in terms of like the story? Where do you think it peaks in the whole movie? Because this is obviously it's different.
I mean, as I say,
everyone.
my brain mainly remembered the Bruce Willis plot line and how it all resolves, etc. But I actually think the first half, considering it's pretty good, actually. Like, I actually was shocked remembering back how good the scenes with John Travolta and Uma Thurman are. So kind of that in itself is quite compelling. It's very different from the rest of the film.
Like I said, real chemistry.
Yeah.
I mean, look, for me, I'd just forgotten how fucking eclectic the start is as well, with the fucking Tim Roth and Amanda Plummer, who are also just great character actors in their own right. And, doing that whole thing, where they're just
Mate,
in
if
a
you ever
diner.
have to cast someone to play a screeching banship, this woman has it down. Like in every film she was ever in, if you've ever seen her. She has it down, mate. She has it down.
She is super underrated, and she did a ton of really good TV parts as well. I mean, but she's another person who she came from theater, which is why I think she's really good facially, and as you said, projection. She nails all of that stuff. But just that opening scene, because it's so arresting, you don't know how that's going to relate to the rest of the film. Because the opening scene has nothing to do with the movie for 2 hours. It's so audacious, and obviously that was the iconic quote, we'll execute every last motherfucking one of you, which by the way,
instantly needle drop of all time in it.
Which is really funny because obviously when we loop back to the scene, Tarantino, I'm sure deliberately left in an alternate reading of the line. It's because she says in the opening scene, it's like, we'll execute every last motherfucking one of you. And then when we go back 2 hours later, it goes, we'll execute every one of you motherfuckers.
Oh, okay.
Right? So it's a continuity error, but I think one that's left in deliberately to kind of shake you up a little bit by that point. Because you're like, oh, we're in that scene. We're going to hear the line. The line's different. Maybe I'm giving it too much credit. But I mean, every part of the film for me is a nice little. It's like I say, they don't even need to be connected. It's almost like one of the reasons I like Mulholland Drive is that it's just vignettes. It's just little stills, little scenes that are done David Lynch style. And yeah, they may link, they may not, but they're all very enjoyable in and
Put
of
it this
themselves.
way, it's funny because it came out the same year, and I actually know Tarantino himself is a massive fan of this film. But he is always a big proponent of the Wong Kar-wai film Chungking Express, which is similar.
He loves that.
It's essentially almost like four different. And the joke he did a later one, Four Lynch, would have been the fifth part. It's the same thing. It's like got similar actors, but it's supposed to just be separate, almost like plot lines, but with a similar ambience or something. I know what you mean. That almost has more of a feel of this. If anything, actually, the joke is because of how we think of movies in the West, we're trying with our brain to make this all into one film and making that the non-linear parts you just talk the story and put it in different orders. I know what you mean. To me, it's only even supposed to loosely have overlap. Like, actually, you are exploring very different themes in all the different plot lines in this one.
Well, obviously, like Tarantino, why you're bringing up Chungking Express, he always wanted to replicate that scene where she's dancing in the kitchen to California Dreaming.
Yes.
Which is why
right up his alley too, isn't it? You
Yeah.
can certainly see why he'd be loving that.
Yeah, I mean, for anyone who hasn't seen it,
If you like this film, definitely watch it. It'll be right up your alley.
Yeah. I mean, like a lot of people might struggle with like, it's subtitled, blah blah blah. Like this is what I was talking about on the Matrix episode. Ultimately, like Chinese cinema at this time is popping the fuck off. Action movies, dramas, like the early 90s, late 80s are insane. Like some of the best movies ever made are coming out of China and Hong Kong at this time. And obviously Tarantino being the film student, blockbuster worker wanker, he was seeing a lot of that. And that's why Reservoir Dogs initially has a lot of like City on Fire in it and stuff. And definitely Uma Thurman's character has, he's channeling Chungking Express. But at this point in his career, he's putting his very own spin on it. And like you say, I mean, again, we're repeating past episodes. This is the movie that relaunches cinema as a concept. That it's okay to make a film that doesn't necessarily have to be a blockbuster. Here is a movie that cost less than $10 million to make, made $200 million at the box office. That is ultimately an homage and a pastiche of genre types from the 50s, 60s, 70s, borrowing from everything, putting, like, is Bruce Willis...
It's not even just cinema either. I mean, this goes back to film noir novels. It goes to when it's called Pulp Fiction, it's crime comics. You know what I mean? It's violent crime comics is what it is. So it actually combines not even just cinema, but a bunch of other forms of media as well.
Like it's probably no exaggeration to say that just in terms of who the biggest actor is in this movie, it is Bruce Willis. And it's Bruce Willis at a time when he's only really started to come out into the film star. Like, Die Hard is obviously what puts him over the top, which I think is 89, 90. And this is and this is like 94.
It's late 80s, I think.
Yeah, I think it might be 89. Die Hard, but
and there's obviously the connection that him and then Samuel L. Jackson do Die Hard. So that has to be in this film.
88 was Die Hard.
Okay, there you go. So they explicitly reference it actually in a lot of people didn't pick up on this, but in Die Hard with a Vengeance, which obviously is Samuel L. Jackson and Bruce Willis together again. He says to him, "What have you been doing, with your career?" And he says, "Oh, I've been off work, because he's suspended." And he says, "I've been, smoking cigarettes and watching Captain Kangaroo."
Right.
One of the songs on the Pulp Fiction soundtrack. In fact, let me get you the name of the song, because obviously so here you go. It's the Statler Brothers, "Flowers on the Wall" is obviously used in this, and it was a little Easter egg that they just put in a movie. They put it in the movie because apparently Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson hit it off really well in this film. And obviously they went on to work together in fucking Unbreakable, which might be M. Night Shyamalan's best film.
Underrated film.
Yeah, correct. Obviously the sequels, Split and Glass, we'll just let that happen, I guess. We didn't know Bruce Willis was suffering from frontal lobe dementia at the time. So we were all there going, man, he's phoning these roles in. Sick, dying, of course, the whole time. Can't even talk, doesn't know where he is now. But, there was this brief run where I think,
and obviously Die Hard with a Vengeance, directed by one of Monty's gods, whatever his name is, McTiernan or whatever.
Yeah, McTiernan.
Your boy.
Hell yeah.
Boy, John
McTiernan.
Your gods, of course.
And Thomas Crown Affair or whatever the fuck, wasn't it? Wasn't he the one who did that?
Look, man, I Predator. I like McTiernan.
13th Warrior.
Listen,
it's your god. It's your god, buddy.
By
the way, that was also a part that, if you don't know about the Matrix episode, everyone loved his Richard saying the Wazowskis are our gods.
I know.
Yeah, I didn't even fuck with them, but whatever. It's all good.
Your gods, of course. But no, actually, it totally not related to this episode. But I nearly did it, Monty, because obviously I was working an event. And you wouldn't know anything about this now, and neither of you would. But event work, you get lonely. You're up in that hotel room, the hookers, they're not there. So what am I going to do? I nearly watched Predator Badlands. That's how lonely and bored I was. But I didn't.
It's actually not a terrible movie.
I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Instead, I watched Pulp Fiction and had a much better time. So, right, hang on. Let's... there's got to be more we can say. I feel like this is
the music.
Yeah, I mean, there you go. There it is.
Another mega soundtrack too, isn't it? Yeah.
Just the way it opens is so iconic. You wouldn't think to use surf rock. It's a niche genre to start this movie, but just right from the start, that song that just burns itself into your brain immediately.
Everybody be cool, this is a robbery!
Any of you fucking pricks move! And I'll execute every motherfucking last one of you!
And that's he just has this knack for picking exactly the right song at the right time, either through lyrics or feel, and it shapes the entire film, and you just end up remembering these, I'm not going to say throwaway, but rather niche songs forever as a result of.
By the way, this is why I don't actually totally blame Tarantino for, in my opinion, sort of going up his own arse and forgetting who he is. Because if you were the guy, right, think about this. This really is every fucking nerd's dream that, like, I could make it better than that. And then they give you a shot and you actually do it. And you actually are a genius and you do revolutionize the genre. And everything you touch, like we're saying, you're the ultimate tastemaker. Every song you reference, every fucking old movie, everyone's going, this is genius. Why you're just a genius? Like, you can see why, unfortunately, he just got out of his own supply, because he wasn't. It is actually that's the main thing about these two films, Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction. I've actually realized now they can't be overrated. It is not a cliche that they are just unbelievably good films. They're just mega.
I mean, like, keep in mind,
beginning to end,
like Reservoir Dogs with the whole K-Billy super sounds of the 70s shtick, it did essentially relaunch the soundtrack as an album you went and bought. And obviously this goes all the way through the 90s. I mean, like, I remember, you had to own the Natural Born Killers soundtrack. Even like weird shit like Judgment Night, Spawn was another one.
I mean, we said one for the fucking Lost
Crow,
Highway. That was a bang
Lost
on one
Highway,
too. Mega.
The Crow. You had to own these soundtracks. Yes. And Tarantino essentially made it so when I make a movie, well, you're not just getting a movie. We can sell a CD as well. We can sell an album. And with Pulp Fiction, there were a couple of ones that were like a bit more mainstream, like Son of a Preacher Man, right? Obviously, I think people, knew Dusty Springfield. And maybe Al Green, Let's Stay Together, although you can maybe argue that was kind of niche.
There's definitely some deep cuts though. There's shit I've never heard of before these
films. For real. I mean, like, put it this way, Kool and the Gang Jungle Boogie fucking slaps. I mean, used well in the movie. But yeah, I mean, like Dick Dale and Deltones, which did the soundtrack, and there was stuff like the Rebels, which is that bow 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 bow. That was just I think that's the song that they play out with when the movie loops back around and they leave the diner. It's kind of crazy. Like, there's so many tracks that are iconic because of this that weren't really from big bands, big performers, and like, obviously as well, I mean, no one ever listened to Urge Overkill ever again, like after 94. But that song, Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon, was fucking played to death. I'm talking about they would put that on in a nightclub as a fucking slow. If you were out in the 90s, you would have all your shit, and then it would get to like, all right, well, it's 5 to 2, time to get laid, go fuck off home. They would just put that on. That was what we were doing in the UK. I don't know if it was different for you hipster motherfuckers in America, but like Urge Overkill, what the fuck do they do now? They literally have their video wasn't even a music video. It was just clips of Pulp Fiction. That's how mental, like, just insane how big this was. And then obviously as well, the other thing that Tarantino typified on an album was clips of iconic dialogue. So it became this like cultural feedback loop, I mean, we didn't even talk about it on the Reservoir Dogs episode, and I'm sure when that comes out, there'll be some dickhead in the comments saying this. But, like, what about fucking Fun-Loving Criminals? Scooby Snacks. Remember that song? Con Monty, you're looking at me now like a dog that's been shown a card trick. Right? You do running around, robbing banks, all whacked up. That was literally only written because Reservoir Dogs existed. And it's like literally all of the clips all of the dialogue is Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs in that song. Right? Their entire act was a tribute to Tarantino. That's a level of cultural impact you just can't even begin to fathom. But bands exist to write songs about the movies you made, which themselves are references to obscure movies that
it truly is a
postmodern
hell.
All right, Jordan Peterson. Right?
No, but it does become so divorced from the original material at a certain point in time because
it definitely does. We call that Kill Bill.
Tarantino is riffing on things that happened. It's a simulation of things that happened before. And then you have bands riffing on Tarantino who don't even know the original source material, creating this simulacrum, right?
Yeah.
To take it back to the Matrix talk. I mean, this is Baudrillard. This is French postmodern philosophy. And it's commentaries on things like this in postmodernity.
I mean, by the way, have you gone through and counted the references to movies in this?
No,
I
have not gone through and counted them. No,
I lost.
Why are you asking me that question?
I lost count. Like, it's mental. I got to about 40 or 50. There's so many movie references in this, and it's like they're thrown away. Like, when the wolf turns up and he calls him Lash LaRue. You ever wondered about that?
I have no idea what that's referring to.
What is that referring to? It's a reference to a 1950 movie called King of the Bullwhip, which is the film's main, character. And I was like jotting down all the ones I knew, and it's got references to On the Waterfront, Kiss Me Deadly's in there, Rio Bravo, of course, because it's a Tarantino movie, and just movies in general reference that. There's posters in the background for like a bunch of Attack of the 50-Foot Woman is in there in that diner they're in. It is crazy. It is crazy. It's just there's so much. It's so rich and so dense. Like Tarantino, I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood might it's up there with this for me.
I'll tell you a problem though, Richard. Even though there's not actually an issue with the film, I'll tell you where I think Tarantino himself was probably deluded. Though I think he actually does think with films like this that you're going to take this like he's a syncretist bringing together these strands, and you're going to go and explore all those. It's like, and no normal person's going to do that. Unfortunately, like that's why. Unfortunately, this is where actually people were wrong. Obviously, you can tell a lot of normies just thought Tarantino came up with all the shit himself. They didn't even know this was references, and they thought like, "Oh my god, this was the greatest genius in the history of film." It's like, well, no, he's like a guy with fantastic taste who weaved it all together in like a masterful way. But I do think that part is one part that's maybe misunderstood by like turbo normies. Like that, if they saw a scene done in a Tarantino film, they never saw the original. They never dug it out. In fact, they're never going to. They probably don't think they need to. But I agree, he does a great job with it. In this film, these two films especially, he's unreal at it.
Oh, I mean, like I remember as well. It was one of the best Christmas presents I got from my parents in a long time. My mother bought me the VHS, but it was in this giant box, and it had the original script in with it. And again, like we all loved this. We thought, we could maybe make a movie. Like we loved all this shit. We loved, it wasn't just fucking Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction. Obviously we loved all the other Tarantino knockoffs, all the stuff that was adjacent to it, like Killing Zoe and, True Romance. I mean, like the 90s crime fiction, not to mention, if you were British, you had Guy Ritchie emerge at this time
the
as
British
well.
Tarantino, just the same shit, isn't it?
Yeah. We were spoiled for crime genre stuff. And I remember, it might still be up there somewhere, but, thumbing through that script and seeing all the little bits that didn't make it in and the bits that did. And it was super interesting. It gave me an understanding of process because ultimately, I think while this film works just as a movie in and of itself, without the referencing, this is Tarantino's strength, obviously, but without it referencing other things, it probably isn't as good. In fact, I might go so far as to say things to do in Denver when you're dead is what happens if you make a Tarantino movie with no cinema, without being, having a literary
that's the nightmare
end
game.
Yeah, that's what happens. If you've never seen a good movie in your life, you make that movie.
Yeah, it's copying a copy. Right?
Well,
is what it is.
Well, not even. It's like all the ideas are the same, ostensibly. It's just you've never seen a good movie to use as a sounding board or a reference point. So you end up with fucking Jimmy the Saint as a protagonist instead of Butch. Or Jules, right? Exactly. Like you end up with Jules, Mr. Shush. Where there's no critical bill in Pulp Fiction, but it's an interesting counterpoint to. It really shows that the lines are so fine between genius and dog shit. It's so you are walking that tightrope, and for a bunch of movies, for me, this is why I think he's one of the best directors of all time. Tarantino strays on the right side, and Pulp Fiction is a wonderful example of that. It's a film that absorbs other movies and, like I say, it recontextualizes. A 90s kid might never watch a 60s movie, but thanks to what Tarantino did, I can get all of the flavor and all of the kind of tropes and appreciate it, but also get this unique spin on it. From like a guy who at this time, at this moment in time, he was an iconoclast. I mean, you can't even, like I say, it's one thing to make a heist movie that has no heist. Great. Then you make a movie that references, like literally Pulp Fiction, 50s movies, and you call it Pulp Fiction
with a naked McGuffin as well.
Yeah.
Right? Where you never find out what's in the briefcase.
By the way, we didn't even reference that part because unfortunately that is one of the most famously hackneyed fucking parts. Like, it's just so, like the guy tells you for the millionth time in the first smoke session,
doesn't matter,
drunk at the end of a night. It's like, mate, that's such a tired thing everyone read in film
magazines.
Well,
he's got a Band-Aid on the back of his head, and that's where his soul was taken out, and now he wants his soul back, and that is how. But because he gets raped, and then
it's like listening to fucking Lenny from Mice and Men review the film for me.
It's just so simple. It's like McGuffins are part of this kind of Pulp Fiction. Like if you look at film noir and the Maltese Falcon, and it doesn't matter because the point is that it's a MacGuffin. That's the point.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're right. Maltese Falcon, that's a notorious, overly intricate web with a MacGuffin, kind of similar to The Third Man, where the Harry Lime is the MacGuffin. But I mean, like for the most part, like most of those movies don't have a MacGuffin, and if they do, it's very obscure and it's not really what the movie's about. This is also like that. The what's in the briefcase just doesn't matter at all. It's so dumb that anyone ever spent any time thinking about it, but they did. Oh, they did in the 90s, guys.
The idea of all the joke is, because that is just a shiny thing in a thing. That's like what these idiots are like. You've got a whole film full of amazing acts, reference it, and you're just drawing look in the briefcase.
Yeah. I know.
Hell, you missed the whole film.
The briefcase it's such a minor part of the film.
Plutonium, like in Repo Man.
It's just such a minor part of the film anyway.
By the way, can you even imagine also, sidebar, how many dickheads Tarantino's had to have come up to him and ask what's in the briefcase?
No.
Oh, God. Please.
Here's the thing. Tarantino has always famously said as well, he'll always include an aspect to his movie that is designed to make you interpret. Because he wants you to come away with a different experience to somebody else. It started with Reservoir Dogs, with the name, where, as I said, famously would never explain it, even though ultimately he's alluded to too much over time. It's 92. By now, yeah, we get it. But it was the same with the briefcase in Pulp Fiction. But I mean, even stuff like, Inglourious Bastards, which we're getting to, it was like, right, we're gonna kill Hitler, and we're gonna retcon history, and we're gonna let you decide, what's going on in the theater and all of that stuff. And yeah, he's done that with a ton of films, quite deliberately. Like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I think, is probably the most. It's the most obvious that he is playing with your expectations and wants you to be interpretive about the film and what it's all about. I think that's like the most. I think that's the one where a lot of people bounced off it for that reason. But for me, it's just a fantastic love letter to what we can do with film. We can change the world in which we live. We don't have to live in a world where Sharon Tate is brutally murdered. That's what he was essentially saying. With film, anything is possible. And that's why it's such a powerful medium. In this, he's essentially, he's tapping on some of the themes a little bit, but it just, I don't know, he wasn't ready to go big. He just had to make do with the male rape scene.
All I'm going to say is I'm looking forward to how the hell you're going to get through the Kill Bill episode. Because all I'm going to say, Richard, is it's on record now in a past episode. I did say my take. It's the first part of Quentin Tarantino. Funny enough, up until about that film is where he's really brilliant. He's genius and everything's great. But after that, he jumps the shark and it goes way downhill. And you were trying to explain why that wasn't totally the case.
No, here's the thing. I always knew Kill Bill might be the one I had the most trouble with. It was why when we were picking out the movies,
I'm glad we picked it though. I'm actually
I
wanted
to
have had
do
a much
it.
higher opinion if I had.
Yeah, for me, it's ultimate. You see, it like after Jackie Brown is such a good movie, and it's such a fucking slept on film, and it's like if you're a white director in the late 90s and you're making a blaxploitation movie. You have to understand, blaxploitation's dead. It doesn't exist. Not only did he do genres that were essentially on the outs, and he brought them back. blaxploitation was a zombified genre. It didn't exist. There was no need for it to exist anymore. It was specifically a relic of an era. And he said, I'll just make one of them. I'll make one of them. And not only will I make one of them, I will cast iconic blaxploitation stars in that movie. I will bring Pam Grier back, right? Remember her from Coffee? No, you're white. You didn't see it. Shut the fuck up. Here she is now. That's what he did. And like that, to me, is, wow, okay, you are a powerful sorcerer, Mr. Tarantino. And then he goes, I might do some anime. No, Quentin, no, Quentin, no. And I might just make Battle Royale in with that. I might just have a little Japanese kid with a mace smiling. No, Quentin, no.
But what if he remade a bunch of Shaw Brothers films and then put the Shaw Brothers logos on the top?
Bro, I'll have to bring it up for the Kill Bill episode just to show you, because I've got there's these Blu-ray collections where you get like 20 Shaw Brothers movies, and they're on like volume 5 now, right? It's called Shaw Scope, and I've got the entire collection of the Shaw Brothers movies, all the wuxia movies they did, all the kung fu movies they did, all the dramas they did. So I, again, all the things I said about The Matrix, people going, wow, Richard, you're just a pretentious wanker, right? Like, true. guilty as charged.
This is the pretentious wanker show, guys.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, you see, you have to understand, if you put a gun to my head and said, Richard, honestly now, from now until the end of time, you can watch one movie, The Beast Must Die or The Matrix, I would pick The Beast Must Die. That is not a joke. I would 100% pick that every time. And so once you understand that about me, you will understand my love of genre movies.
Right. Well, let's save the Kill Bill stuff because it's going to be our next episode.
So let's.
We didn't even talk about it, but it's Kill Bill and then it's Inglourious Bastards, guys.
No, but listen. You have no idea as well, right? I've gone so deep because we had the extra day because we were meant to record this yesterday, and then I said I can't because I watched Kill Bill Part 2, and then I spent the other day watching this new version that's come out, which is what's it called, the bloody anus, the bloody anus or whatever, and none of them are good. There's not an edit. All right. So let's just wrap up Pulp Fiction. Let's wrap up Pulp Fiction.
It's great. It's still a masterpiece.
Yeah, I mean, one of the best movies of the 90s. For me, if I had to pick
also might be one of the rare movies that you won't ruin by watching this first if you stupidly do that. Might be the only one that doesn't matter that you watch.
Ultimately, all we've done in this episode is say we like these scenes, because it's one of those, like, much like the Blade Runner episode. What are we going to say that hasn't been already said?
It also actually, funnily enough, doesn't need a lot of like literary film criticism and trying to. It actually just works as if it's just. Like I say, it just works as a very intuitive film. You'll just get it. It's just great.
Yeah,
it's just fucking great. It doesn't need a lot of exposition.
It really is one of those movies you can just turn it on, settle in, and it will just lead you along. And like I say, if you've never seen it, the storyline is going to shock you. I mean, you think now, Richard, it's a movie from 1994, so it's been parodied 1,000 times. It's been referenced on The Simpsons. I mean, by the way, the rape scene is referenced in The Simpsons.
Sure.
There's that episode, isn't there, like 52 Stories of Springfield or something, which is a deliberate non-linear telling of a bunch of things that happen, and that guy with the one arm literally is the spider's gonna cut us a couple of flies. He's that guy. And they did that in The Simpsons, and fucking Milhouse's dad has got a ball gag in his mouth. So it was everywhere, but if you haven't seen it, it will still surprise you, because you are gonna go along and be like, holy shit, what's happening here? Why has he shot that dude? Why is the car crashed? Who's Zed? Zed's dead. It's just going to blow you away. It just is a mental film that deliberately found ways to, like, it just constantly ramps it up. Drug overdose. We're all there, like, in the film. Holy shit, is Mia Wallace going to die in the first part of the movie? What's going on? That was fucking trippy, okay? Car accident, rape scenes, shootings, holdups, the wolf. I mean, It's just incredible. For me, there's 3 90s movies. This is one of them. Heat is the other. Seven is the other. And if that's the company that this is in, then it is one of the greatest movies of all time. And
a theme we have mentioned many times on this show: the 90s is actually underrated.
I know.
It might even just be the best decade. It really might.
It's actually insane how good the 90s is, because it's like, think of all the movies we're ignoring. And as we've said many times on past episodes, remember, guys, this film, which relaunches modern cinema as a concept, elevates everything, puts Tarantino on the map, makes him this iconic figure. It didn't even win Best Picture. Because Forrest Gump did.
That is so egregious, isn't it? That didn't even age well at the time, but that's aged even worse now, mate. That's bad. It's a bad thing.
Makes me sick. So all the more reason to go out and show some love to this movie. I'm sure there'll be people.
By the way, we should definitely do an arc in the future where we intentionally pick 4 Oscar-winning films and just roast the shelves. And that would be a good one. Pick the worst ones that won the Oscar.
I mean, Forrest Gump will be in that arc. Got to be in that arc. Oh, Crash was terrible, bro. Listen, I know we're trying to put a pin in the episode. I went on a date to Crash, and the lady was crying. And I'm just there like, this is shit. Then again, I went on another date for the remake of King Kong in 2005, and I was crying. So you decide what's worse and what's more embarrassing. So,
well, on that note, we'll see you next week for Kill Bill.